technology for the present and the future built environment. ICoSiET and Senvar will be held August 10 until 11, 2022 in Kuala Indonesia. Conference hosted by the Department of Agriculture, Engineering, Property, Senvar University. Fakultas Teknik Staff 17 Agustus 2005. Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Ikatan Ahli Perencanaan Indonesia. Scientific Basic Engineering Institute. Experience in Community. Indonesia. And while you present the page, they just but any other University. Hiroshima University. Second is the National Conference on Science, Engineering and Technology. 22nd Sustainable Environment and Architecture. Be smart design, technology for the present and the future built environment. ICoSiET and Senvar will be held August 10 until 11, 2022 in Kuala Indonesia. Conference hosted by the Department of Agriculture, Engineering, Property, Senvar University. Fakultas Teknik Staff 17 Agustus 2005. Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Ikatan Ahli Perencanaan Indonesia. Indonesia. While you present your PhD, they don't follow anything. And understand mention and Senvar University. Hiroshima University. And Second is the National Conference on Science in Engineering and Technology. 22nd, Sustainable Environment and Architecture. Green Smart Design and Technology for the future and future environment. ICoSiET and Senvar on legal August 10 until 11, 2022 in Kuala, Indonesia. Conference hosted by the Department of Architecture and Engineering, Faculty Senvar University. 19. Teknik Universitas Hiburan Universitas Kepentingan. Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Kepentingan. Ikatan Ahli Indonesia Indonesia. Association Scientific Committee of Basic Engineering Arts. Active in Community. Indonesia. Professor Brian Pike, National Chiefs University. 100% of PhD to be done on university. The aim and the university. University. Hiroshima University. The National Conference on Science in Engineering and Technology. 22nd, Sustainable Environment and Architecture. Green Smart Design and Technology for the future and future environment. ICoSiET and Senvar on August 10 until 11, 2022 in Kuala, Indonesia. Hosted by the Department of Architecture and Engineering, Faculty Senvar University. 19. Teknik Universitas Hiburan Universitas Kepentingan. Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Kepentingan. Ikatan Ahli Perencanaan Indonesia. Association Scientific Committee of Basic Engineering Arts. Active in Community. Indonesia. Science and Science. University. University. science, engineering, and technology. Trends such as sustainable environment and architecture. With smart design and technology, design and future environment. Outside as Senvar August 10 of 2022 in Hong Kong, Indonesia. Like Department of Architecture and Engineering. And another university. Hiroshima University. And National Congress of Science, Engineering, and Technology. 10 seconds sustainable environment and assets. With smart design, technology, design, and future environment. August 10 and 11, 2022 in Hong Kong, Indonesia. Subject hosted by the Department of Agriculture, Engineering, Property, Development, Indonesia, Ikatan Ahli Perencanaan Indonesia, menjadi 20 engineering class, SPM in Indonesia, IPL Science and Environment Science. Change unit, the page being up and Hiroshima University. And yes. Information science, engineering, and technology. 20 seconds sustainable environment and assets. Which one nine? Technology for the future environment. ICoSiET and Senvar will help August 10 until 11, 2022 in Indonesia. Sponsored also by the Department of Architecture and Engineering from the Federal University. And it's currently 9 in staff physical analysis when market. Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Ikatan Ahli Perencanaan Indonesia Scientific Community of Engineering as experience in community. Hiroshima University. Traditional and
Cuma 8.
Berikan tepuk tangan untuk tari kreasi tradisional Indonesia.
Di saat sedang mengapresiasi shalom dan dari bersama jadi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. General General University on behalf Vice Rector Program General Dean of Faculty of Engineering Technology University, Dr. ICoSiET, General Dean of Architecture Department Technology University, Dr. Azrain, speaker of our and participant in this conference.
Alhamdulillah puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan yang Maha Esa. Ia telah memberikan rahmat dan berkah yang sama kepada kita sehingga kita dapat berdiri seperti ini tanpa hambatan.
Thanks to Allah, the Almighty has given us some nurses and blessings so that we can attend this seminar without any troubles and obstacles.
Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic made a massive lockdown in 21st century all around the world. A virtual world has become a necessity, shifting people's lifestyle to a certain degree. With the rapid development of the COVID-19 vaccine, the urban environment shall prepare for a new normal era. In this era, we will face totalizing global challenges to provide safe, healthy, smart, and sustainable living by addressing the virtual world and reality. Ladies and gentlemen, to promote multidisciplinary and international discussion and ensure strong action on the green, smart design and technology for present and the future environment. Apart international programs of science in engineering and technology, sustainable environment and architecture. ICoSiET Senvar 2022 will be held on until 11 August 2022 in our education. Multidisciplinary scholars and the fields including to architecture, civil engineering, electronics and electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, information technology, spatial planning, and global studies worldwide permanently come to attend the virtual conference.
The conference supported by University of Penjelasan tersebut ini dilakukan internasional IAI Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Central Solusi AP Ikatan Arsitek Perencanaan Central Solusi AC SPN IRSPN International.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Hotel Santika Palu Central Sulawesi Indonesia, I'm
Perhatikan dunia,
di sini ICoSiET Senvar 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, General investigations to our country that authorize for seeing the national anthem and Indonesian anthem. Please stand up for a while. Hadirin mohon berdiri.
Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita berseru, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah hidup bangsaku, rakyatku semua. Tanpa jiwa kemarahan untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Hadirin silakan duduk.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. Thank you.
Baiklah, Bapak Ibu, selanjutnya sambutan dari Ketua Jurusan Teknik Arsitektur Universitas Tadulako.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we move to next agenda. I would like to welcoming speech by the Head of Architecture Department of the University. Please welcome Dr. Fuad Zubairi.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Government of Senvar, Honorable Head of Senvar University, Professor Sisir Ahmad, Honorable Dean and Vice Dean, Faculty of Engineering, Honorable President of Senvar, lain keynote speaker and all delegate and participants. It's honor for us to be able to carry out an important activity at the moment. The second International Conference on Science in Engineering and Technology and 22nd Sustainable Environment and Architecture ICoSiET and Senvar, the green, smart design and technology for the present and the future built environment. It's a happiness and honor for us to all participants in this conference, especially to keynote speakers, professors and experts in field of science, architecture, engineering and technology. We hope it will continue carrying and to produce productive dialogues and also exchange information to field of science, architecture, engineering, and technology. And from thanks to all delegates and substitute members, IOP, SERE, ERP, and sponsors. So express I think incredible thanks to ICoSiET and Senvar committee. You are all truly heavenly. And finally, we have lecture on Tadulako University can officially open this event. Please welcome and enjoy for the second International Conference on Science, Engineering and Technology and 22nd Systems of Improvement. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih kepada Bapak Dr. Muhammad Subaidi, the head of Architecture Department at Adelaide University.
Sambutan dari Ketua Panitia Senvar 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, then we would like to invite to the stage for the next welcoming speech the chairman of the second ICoSiET Senvar 2022.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. The Honorable Governor of Southern and on his behalf, Suti Handayani MSc, Vice Rector for Development and Cooperation Affairs Prosama, on behalf of the Rector Adelaide University, Dean of Engineering Faculty, Andi Lusin and his five team, Head of Architecture Department, Dr. Muhammad Subaidi, President of Senvar, from ICoSiET, keynote speakers, presenters, participants, and ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the committee, we are pleased to welcome all the participants, researchers, academicians, experts, and policymakers to the second International Conference on Science and Engineering and Technology, 22nd Sustainable Environmental Architecture. The conference is hosted by the Architecture Department of Engineering Faculty at Adelaide University. We organize the conference simultaneously on site and online for 2 days. So in this conference, we promote the theme, the green smart design and technology for the present and the future built environment. This theme is inspired by the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused a massive scale lockdown in 21st century around the globe. It introduced a hybrid life to us, where a virtual world has become a necessity. Centralizing global challenges in our environment forces us to provide a safe, healthy, smart, and sustainable living environment. By elaborating the future world and reality, not only for the present situation, but also visionary looking for the future. Thus, we combine this real world and virtual world in this conference. ICoSiET Conference 2022 is a joint conference to bridge the role of architecture, engineering, multidisciplinary field stakeholders in sharing their precious ideas, theories, concepts, design, research, and vast experience in creating a better world. We are honored to invite 8 outstanding keynote speakers from United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Taiwan, Brunei and Indonesia to provide an impressive and engaging discussion. There are 99 submissions and only 8 papers are accepted for presentation. Acceptance rate 80%. The accepted and selected papers will be published on ICoSiET conference proceedings here in environmental science. The next slide is covered. The excellent papers in the field of architecture, urban planning, and infrastructure are planned to be published in IRSCFT International Index by Web of Science and Scopus Group. Last but not least, we would like to deliver our gratitude and high appreciation to all the keynote speakers, authors, editors, peer review committee, organizers, publishers, participants, and sponsors hardly work and contributed to the success of the conference. We hope all of you will have a joyful and fruitful event. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya, terima kasih kepada Ibu Dr. Putri Fitriani yang sudah memberikan terbuka luar biasa, Chairman of the Second ICoSiET Senvar 2022.
Baik, selanjutnya mereka kita dengarkan sambutan dari Ketua Senvar 2022.
Then we would like to invite for the next welcome speech, the Chairman of Senvar 2022.
Selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa saya bisa didengar? Karena suaranya hilang nih.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bisa,
Bisa
Prof?
didengar? Bisa ya? Oke.
Bisa, Prof.
Ya, baik. Baik, sekali lagi selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Karena ini international conference, izinkan saya untuk menyampaikan sekilas welcome speech dalam bahasa Inggris ya. Terima kasih. Sebentar. Okay. Yeah. Very good morning. Your Excellency, the Rector of Tadulako University, dear distinguished keynote speakers and invited speakers, the scientific and organizing committee of 22nd Senvar, colleges, students, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Today is my honor to meet you all in this international conference Senvar 22nd year 2022, organized here by Tadulako University in Palu, Central Sulawesi. Today is a special moment for us, for me especially, as a representative of Senvar community, to meet you all here. And as you know, after being initiated in the year of 20,000 in Surabaya in ITS, Senvar now has become an international conference, and there are already many interesting papers, discussion, and collaboration between universities being done. And now our conference has a special theme, let me see, the green smart design and technology for the present and future built environment. I'm sure there are many interesting papers from several countries. I think it's already mentioned, almost 100 interesting papers from 5 different countries are there and ready to be discussed today and tomorrow. Now, Senvar is an international academic platform for anybody who is interested in discussing nature and built environment issues like urban planning, building and environment and architecture, outdoor and indoor comfort, local and global green and sustainability. Senvar now is a yearly event hosted voluntarily by various universities in Indonesia and outside Indonesia. As far as I remember, from 22 times international conference, there are 3 international conferences held outside Indonesia. This year, I think it is still organized, I think both, and because of the pandemic situation, this conference is still held online and offline, I think. Yeah. So hopefully this conference, these two conferences will be managed, will be held without any problem. This year's theme is a very interesting. It's very interesting. Themes. At this conference, we would like to remind all of us to bridge the independent part of human nature and technology development to focus more on the stewardships of the earth. No more focus on economic growth and technological ingenuity, but more encouragement to environmentally beneficial economic growth and avoiding environmentally harmful forms. We have an ethical responsibility to be caring, to be a manager who care, to steward our only one earth we have. So instead, our success depends on how well we manage the Earth's life support system for our benefits and the rest of the nature now and in the future. On behalf of Senvar community, please express my highest appreciation to the current Senvar organizers. Special thanks to the rector of Tadulako University in Palu, to my colleagues in Department of Architecture, and students in the scientific and organizing committee of this 22nd Senvar International Conference for their hard work in preparing, managing, and organizing this event to be a successful one. I wish you a fruitful conference, dynamic presentations, and warm, friendly discussions during this 2 days event. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Profesor Eka Sediadi, the Chairman of Senvar 2022. Terima kasih banyak Bapak, Prof. Selamat mengikuti rangkaian acara seminar sampai dengan selesai untuk hari ini.
Terima kasih.
Baik, Bapak Ibu, selanjutnya kita dengarkan sambutan sekaligus membuka acara pada pagi hari ini. Oh maaf, selanjutnya marilah kita dengarkan sambutan dari Dekan Fakultas Teknik Universitas Tadulako.
Ladies and gentlemen, then we would like to invite welcoming speech the Dean of Faculty of Engineering Tadulako University. Please welcome Dr. Andi Rustin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us blessing and mercies so we can attend this international conference both by online and attend this conference in this forum. My salawat and salam are delivered to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Good morning dan selamat pagi. The Honorable Governor of Central Sulawesi Province, represented by Mrs. Susi Andayani from Dinas Cipta Karya dan Sumber Daya Air, the Honorable Rector of Tadulako University, represented by Vice Rector of Development and Corporation, Professor Amar, the Chairman of Senvar, Profesor Eka Sediadi, who have delivered the speech, Dean from faculties at Tadulako University, mostly represented by Vice Dean for Academic Affairs from Mathematics and Natural Science. Also, Faculty of Public Health and Vice Director of Postgraduate Program Tadulako University. I also want to thanks to the chairman of the second conference on Science in Engineering and Technology and 22nd conference of Sustainable Environment and Architecture, Doctor of Engineering Putri Fitriati. High appreciation to the all keynote speakers who will be explain the new development of technology from various kind of academic discipline. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to honor all participants that attend to the second international conference on science in engineering and technology and 22nd conference of sustainable environment and architecture. I express high gratitude and appreciation to all speakers who submitted work papers that will be presented in this conference. Special thanks delivers to the organizing committee, which mostly come from Department or Architecture and supported by other departments in Faculty of Engineering, Tadulako University. I know in the midst of all difficulty situation in this moment, this is not an easy job, but with hard work, effort, and cooperation, this conference finally can be held. I also want to thanks to the Vice Dean of Engineering Faculties, Head of Departments in the Faculty of Engineering. I see there is Mrs. Yuli from Electrical Department and also Mr. Bakri from Mechanical Engineering Department, also a coordinator of study program in Faculty of Engineering. I also want to appreciate all parties who support and contribute this event, especially the government of Central Sulawesi Province and the municipality of Palu. Appreciate also goes to the professional association, companies, and other university that I cannot mention one by one. Ladies and gentlemen, this time we encounter many challenges. After about 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic, we are aware of many changes of the way of life in the society and the community. The most obvious change is increased use of information system for communication and social activities. Nowadays, people are more concerned about hygiene and health. Besides, we are already forced to adapt a new environment for study and work. Climate change due to the global warming is thought to be a cause of many meteorological disasters such as flood, drought, heat waves, and wildfires. In addition, natural disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, and landslides are becoming more frequent. Those events are significantly affect natural environment that deliver adverse effect on ecosystem and economic society. To reduce the impact of climate change, an effort needed to reduce CO2. However, international conflicts that are escalated recently boosted the price of energy, causing difficulties to obtain cheap energy. The conflict also exacerbate the food scarcity that had become main concern because of the population explosion. Ladies and gentlemen, we realize that we need alternative energy and green technology applied not only to reduce pollution and fulfill energy demand, but also to improve quality of life. The idea about sustainable environment must be accepted by means of interaction with natural resources without degrading the environment. The concept can be implemented for sustainable houses and infrastructure by applied eco-friendly materials and less energy consumptions. Ladies and gentlemen, new methods and technologies are required to reduce disaster risks and accelerate recovery, economic, and social life of affected people. Robust information technology must be widely implemented to increase goods production, simplify connectivity, and expedite transportation and distribution services. There are many challenges that must be solved together by engineers and scientists. I believe that this conference will be source of innovation and ideas of the sustainable development. This gathering will enhance the exchange of knowledge, new technology, new discovery, and related field of application. It is also enabled to build productive dialogue among participants of different backgrounds and nationalities. Finally, through this international conference, let us extend network and cooperation among institutions to develop better engineering solutions. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih kepada Bapak Dr. Andi Rusdin.
Baik, selanjutnya marilah kita dengarkan sambutan sekaligus membuka acara pada pagi hari ini, yaitu Rektor Universitas Tadulako yang diwakili oleh Bapak Wakil Rektor 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we want to invite welcoming speech and opening event by Director of Tadulako University. On behalf by the four Vice Director, please welcome Prof. Awan. Prof. Awan, time is yours.
Before I begin the speech, I would like to convey the best regard from our Chancellor of Tadulako University and apology from him for not being able to attend this moment because there is another agenda and he represented me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat pagi. All the greeting kindness to all of us, welcome to international conference today. Honorable Governor of Central Sulawesi Province, represented by Dinas Cipta Karya and SDA, Mrs. Susi Andayani STMSI, Dean of Faculty of Engineering Tadulako University, Mr. Andi Rusdin, Head of Architecture Department Tadulako University, Mr. Fuad Zubaidi, represent from Housing and Settlement Infrastructure Center, Mr. Aksa, all head of association come today, head of Engineering Alumni Union, Tadulako University, conference chairman on the second ICoSiET Senvar 2022, Mrs. Eng Putri Fitriati, Conference Chairman on the 22nd Senvar Professor Eka Setiadi, all deans, vice dean, and vice director postgraduate Tadulako University, all engineering department, all study program coordinator, and all lecturer, all activity academy of engineering faculty Tadulako University. Excellency, the keynote speakers on this, the second international conference on science and engineering technology, sustainable environmental and architecture today, Professor Zhenqiang Sen from Kanazawa University, Professor Brian Pai from National Chengchi University, Professor David Low from RMIT University, Professor Paulo Caratelli from Abu Dhabi University, Prof. Tetsu Kubota from Hiroshima University, Wahyu Cassandra PhD from Brunei Darussalam University, Dr. Eng Muhammad Sani Rohsiansyah from Gadjah Mada University, and finally, Dr. and Engineer Andi Rusdin from Tadulako University. Distinguished guests, all of organization committee and participant in this international conference from Tadulako University and the other university that I appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let's pray and thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has been giving some mercies and blessing so we can attend and gather in this virtual conference in a good condition and happy situation. My salawat and salam are always given to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has taught their people respectively in order to attain happy and prosperous life in this world and hereafter. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome all here to Palu City and to open the second international conference on science and engineering and technology and 22nd Sustainable Environment and Architecture. The conference theme this year is the Green, Smart Design and Technology for the present and the future built environment. This is especially important in the time of the rapid development sciences, especially in the fields of engineering and architecture, in particular, those related to environmental sustainability. I am very pleased to see so many participants and researchers representing many universities. I wholeheartedly welcome all the delegates, both those who attend this place and those who attend in online. We are also very grateful to Ms. Putri Fitriati, the chair of the organizing committee, the member of the organizing committee, the scientific board, the reviewer committee, and all of the volunteers who have arranged the beautiful program. The conference has been organized jointly by Department of Architecture, Engineering Faculty, Tadulako University, Engineering Faculty of 17 Agustus 1945 University, Indonesian Institute of Architecture Central Sulawesi, Indonesian Association of the Urban and Regional Planner Central Sulawesi, SPSD International Community, IRSPSD International Association for Scientific Computing, Electronic and Engineering. We are fortunate enough to get supported by a group of sponsors with whom we will interact at the conference. I would also like to thank our media partners. The speakers in the program are uniquely placed to debate, discuss, and highlight the key points, trends, and reform in the system of the audience. It will be great to hear from our keynote speakers about the influence, priorities, development, comparison to international standard in the same field. We have arranged the paper presentation opportunity for our delegates to put forward their reforming thought in this vast field. The opportunity to be the organizer of the conference means a lot of us in Palu City. especially to Tadulako University. In this conference, the latest research and finding regarding design and technology for the future built environment will be represented and discussed. Which will be very meaningful for sustainable development in our place and country while still paying attention to environmental sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition, we also hope that this conference will be gateway to building cooperation, especially in the field of education and research between Tadulako University and other university or related institution involved in this conference. Therefore, considering and significant of the conference for all of us, we truly look forward to your input, suggestion, recommendation, and ideas for the success of the event and creation of design and technology for the future built environment. After the full day, a speculation of the most demanding file on design and technology for the future built environment, we have organized a city tour. Yes, a city tour to refresh the mind of you. Last but not least, this phenomenon becomes a very important basis that underlies the theme of the international conference this moment. I hope that the presence of reliable presenter in their respective field can broaden our insight. How to improve and enriching about the green, smart design and technology for the present and future built environment in the pandemic and digital era 4.0. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, on behalf of Rector of Tadulako University and in the name of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala by saying, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I open officially the second international conference on science, engineering and technology, sustainable environment and architecture. And congratulations to you all to gain as much knowledge as you can today international conference. Thank you very much and have a great time in this event. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Prof. Amar. Give welcoming speech and opening event by Director Tadulako University on behalf by the 4 Vice Director. Thank you so much. And now, second ICoSiET Senvar 2022 officially open. Telah resmi dibuka.
Resmi dibuka.
Betul sekali. Berikan tepuk tangan. Give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And
baik, selanjutnya Bapak Ibu kita dengarkan sambutan dari Gubernur Sulawesi Tengah yang mewakili.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we want to invite opening speech the Governor of Central Sulawesi on behalf. Please welcome Miss Tuti Handayani, MSc.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome speech from Governor of Central Sulawesi on the second International Conference on Science in Engineering and Technology, 22nd Sustainable Environment and Architecture. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita sekalian. Honorable Bapak Rektor of Tadulako University, Pak Profesor Amar, Honorable Dean and Vice of Engineering Faculty Tadulako University, Bapak Dr. Andi Rusdin, Head of Architecture Department Tadulako University, Pak Dr. Fuad Zubaidi, keynote speakers, and all delegates and guests. First of all, let us express our gratitude to the presence of God Almighty, who has given an abundance of grace, taufik, and guidance, so that all can be present on the second international conference on science in engineering and technology, 22nd Sustainable Environment and Architecture, ICoSiET Senvar. Ladies and gentlemen, with the implementation of this conference, it's an honor for us, the Central Sulawesi Provincial Government, the conference on them, the green smart design and technology for the present and the future built environment. It is expected to be an added value as a means for scientific development and information exchange in the fields of science, architecture, engineering, and technology. The Central Sulawesi Provincial Government has hopes that the results of this conference can provide benefits and input for local governments, especially in the fields of science, architecture, and technology. Central Sulawesi, which is blessed by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, has so much potential for natural
Halo, selamat
resources,
pagi and good
local
morning.
wisdom,
So I'm Ketu
customs,
Kubota,
and culture, as well as a heterogeneous and tolerant society. One of the potentials of Central Sulawesi is an area that is very close to the IKN, Ibu Kota Negara, development plan to become one of the great potentials and resources for the development of science, architecture, engineering, and technology. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, the government of Sulawesi is hoping that scientific, science, architecture, and technology development activities will continue, which will have a positive impact on development in the Central Sulawesi region and can continue to accelerate the achievement of targets for research and technology programs. I would also like to remind you that the challenges ahead that await us our efforts to maintain the achievement we have achieved and improve our achievement to be even better. As a representative of the Central Sulawesi Provincial Government, would say congratulations to be held the second International Conference on Science in Engineering and Technology, 22nd Sustainable Environment and Architecture, ICoSiET Senvar. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Governor of Central Sulawesi, Mark Haji Rusdi Mastura.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih.
Thank you so much,
Dayani
Miss Susi Handayani, MSI.
Baik, Bapak Ibu, acara pembukaan pada pagi hari ini telah selesai. Kami mengucapkan terima kasih untuk semua tamu dan partisipasi yang hadir di acara hari ini.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the opening ceremony. We're thankful to all guests and participants of this ceremony. And we have to enjoy this conference.
Yes.
Finally, saya Aling Talamua.
Saya Pratika Julia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And enjoy your conference.
Baik, Bapak Ibu, sebelum akhiri mengabadikan foto bersama, mungkin yang mewakili Bapak Wakil Rektor 4, Bapak Dekan Fakultas Teknik, Bapak Ketua Jurusan, Ketua IAI, Ketua IAP, dari kepala dinas instansi yang mewakili, boleh maju di depan.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for the documentation, we are going to have a photo session. Please welcome.
Sebentar, ketua panitia tertinggal.
Kami persilakan kepada ketua panitia. Ini harus ini sudah mendapatkan ucapan terima kasih khusus tadi ya dari Bapak Dr. Fuad Zubaidi. You are amazing tadi. Saya sempat notice tadi ucapan terima kasih secara khusus tersebut.
Bapak Ibu yang berada di depan mohon jangan turun dulu karena ada beberapa peserta yang hadir dari luar Kota Palu. Jadi mungkin kita mengabadikan foto bersama juga bersama peserta dari ITB ya, adik-adik saya sebenarnya ya, adik-adik mahasiswa. Nanti boleh ya adik setelah ini maju ke depan foto bersama.
Kami persilahkan untuk
adik-adik partisipan yang
take your time.
Yang
betul sekali.
Di luar Kota Palu yang sudah jauh-jauh dari Bandung terus ke Kota
Iya,
Palu.
kami persilakan.
Silakan.
Ini kebetulan
Semua
tamu VIP masih menunggu di atas panggung. Ini jarang-jarang terjadi ya.
Juga.
Kami persilakan kepada seluruh panitia.
Beserta panitia, silakan Bapak Ibu panitia maju di depan biar sekaligus diabadikan.
Ya, tim dokumentasi silakan mengatur koreonya biar lebih estetik. Dan tentunya kepada seluruh panitia kami persilahkan mengambil posisi. Ibu silakan.
Ya,
Ibu Pratika.
Sendiri mungkin.
Oke. Ibu Pratika sebagai panitia kami persilahkan. Seluruh panitia bisa mengambil tempat untuk foto bersama. Dan seluruh tamu undangan kami persilahkan jika berkenan untuk mengambil kesempatan foto kenangan.
Baik, Bapak Ibu terima kasih atas waktunya untuk foto bersama. Baik, selanjutnya Bapak Ibu, setelah ini kita ada sesi conference, sesi paralel. Jadi Bapak Ibu autor yang telah hadir pada hari ini, baik, maaf, keynote speech ya, keynote speech paralel. Jadi buat Bapak Ibu jangan dulu meninggalkan tempat, karena setelah ini kita akan mendengarkan keynote speech session pertama yaitu dari Prof. Paulo dan Oke baik, selanjutnya acara keynote speech session 1, session pertama, yaitu yang pertama ada Prof. Tetsu Kubota.
Dan selanjutnya ada Prof. Paulo Karatelli.
Lalu yang ketiga Dr. Wahyu Kaisarendra. Kaisarendra.
Iya, betul sekali Bapak Dr. Wahyu Kaisarendra. Dan tentunya kami alihkan ke moderator moderator nantinya yang
Ya.
akan memandu keynote speech dan sesi-sesi selanjutnya. Untuk moderator kami persilakan dengan hormat kepada
Eh, Sesi yang pertama yaitu yang mendamping Prof. Ted Sukubota yaitu ada Dr. Sri Nastiti Nugrahani Ekasiwi itu dari ITS.
ya, dan selanjutnya akan mendampingi Prof. Paulo Karateli yaitu Mrs. Dr. Putri Fitriati.
Lalu yang mendampingi sebagai moderator untuk keynote speech yaitu Dr. Wahyu Kasendra yaitu Bapak Dr. Engineering Hendra Setiawan.
Kami persilahkan untuk moderator yang pertama. Silakan.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this first keynote speech.
Baik, Bapak Ibu yang hadir pada hari ini, waktu menunjukkan pukul 10:12 waktu Indonesia Tengah. Bapak Ibu yang hadir pada saat hari ini dipersilakan untuk yang belum mencicipi coffee break pada pagi hari ini dipersilakan berada di belakang Anda.
Ya, baiklah Bapak Ibu, kami persilakan untuk mengambil waktu sejenak coffee break, di mana coffee break telah disediakan oleh pihak panitia dan selamat menikmati waktu coffee break karena sesaat lagi kita akan lanjutkan ke sesi selanjutnya.
Tes. tes, tes,
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ibu Nastiti mungkin sudah bisa dimulai, Bu, untuk sesinya Prof.
Baik, terima kasih. Sebentar. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this first keynote speech session today. The keynote speaker of this session is Professor Tetsu Kubota. Welcome, Professor Kubota. Thank you very much for your support on this seminar, international seminar. And before we start, I would like to introduce Professor Tetsu Kubota to all of you. May the committee share the CV of Professor Tetsu Kubota or? Oh. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Professor Tetsu Kubota is a professor of the Graduate School of Advanced Science and Engineering, Hiroshima University. And next, please. Yeah, he graduated as a Doctor of Engineering and also conducted postdoctoral research from Shibaura University, Japan. And next, please. The research field, his research field is engineering, architecture and building engineering, architecture, environment, or equipment. Yeah. From this list of the curriculum vitae, you can see that he has abundant activities in education, research, collaboration, and publication. Recently on Progress, that is the new activity of his research collaboration. He coordinates an international research collaboration between Indonesia University and Japan universities and the Ministry of Housing and Public Work, Bina Teknik, in the scheme of SATREP's funding by JICA. I think now I invite Professor Kubota to deliver the speech with the topic or title, The Cooling Tactics Under Accelerating Urban Warming. The speech or discussion include discussion will held in 45 in total minutes. So Professor Kubota, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nastiti Sensei. Thank you. Good morning and selamat pagi. So I'm Tetsu Kubota. She said that yes, I'm working for Hiroshima University. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this very important conference in Sulawesi, Indonesia. So thank you so much. So let me share the screen also. Oh, I cannot share the screen. I'm sorry. Can you give me the permission?
Yeah, maybe the host will let
Well, will you show
the multiple sharing.
multiple sharing? Okay. Organizer, should I give the presentation online or you just want to show the video?
Oh, it is better that you present your.
I think so, but if so, can you give me the permission to share the screen? If so, otherwise,
so please the committee, the host maybe.
Yes. Hello.
Okay. Is it so?
Okay, now yes, I can share the screen. Just
okay. Sorry.
No problem, no problem. Okay, so thank you very much once again for inviting me to the conference. So yes, I'd like to talk about this topic today. Yes, the cooling techniques and accelerating urban warming. Okay. Can you share my screen? Okay.
Yes,
So
yes,
now,
it's very clear.
Can you see my screen? Okay, thank you. All right. So as you know that now the temperature especially in urban areas increasing and increasing. So this shows the historical change of the urban temperature in different cities in the world. Red indicates the global average. So yes, of course, as we know that now we experience the global warming, and global average temperature has been increasing by about 0.7 or 0.8 degrees Celsius over the last 100 years. So that is red line chart. But if we take a look at the temperature increase in the major cities, yes, the temperature increase is much higher, larger than that of the global average. Tokyo is a good example. So surprisingly, over the last 100 years, we experienced a temperature increase of 3 degrees Celsius over the last 100 years, which is much bigger than that of the global average. Right? New York, Paris, and Berlin, most of the major cities also experience the same or similar temperature increase. Okay, why temperature is increasing, especially in urban areas? Okay, so reason number one is needless to say global warming. Yes, as I mentioned, yes, flatly now the global average temperature has been increasing by about 0.8 or 7, as I mentioned, over the last 100 years. This is the reason number one. Two is yes, the urban heat island, especially in urban areas, urban climate is altered due to the urbanization. So temperature is rising and air get drier and the wind speed normally becomes lower. So due to the urbanization. So this is called, as you know, urban heat island. So because of the two reasons, so global warming and urban heat island, yes, the temperature in urban area is accelerating, increasing and increasing. Okay. So that in the case of Tokyo is yes, the Tokyo is the biggest city at the moment. So that's why we experience that perhaps the biggest temperature increase, 3 degrees Celsius over the last 100 years. And so let's take a look at this. So the actual calculation is not that simple, but according to this chart, maybe we can say that in the case of Tokyo, yes, we experienced 3 degrees Celsius increase. Out of 3 degrees Celsius, yes, perhaps 0.7 or 0.8 degrees Celsius was due to global warming effect. The rest is, yes, perhaps due to the urban heat island effect. So therefore, in the case of Tokyo, yes, we can perhaps say that in the case of Tokyo, the urban heat island effect was larger than that from the global warming effect. Okay, then let's take a look at the developing countries. So this is the one example, Hanoi, the capital city of Vietnam. So we conducted the numerical simulation in Hanoi in several years ago. So I'd like to show you the results. So Hanoi is a capital city, and then the population is already big. So as of 2010, yes, the population was already 6 or 7 million, as you can see here. And here is Hanoi. And Hanoi is located slightly inland, as you can see here, and surrounded by the mountain range. Here is Laos. So then, yes, they experience very hot, humid climate, especially during the summer months, although they have winter also months. They sometimes at the maximum temperature, even current condition can be, yes, 35 or 6 degrees Celsius, already very hot condition. Okay, that is Hanoi. Okay. And then the inside of this, so as you know that the urban center, the city center is very historical, nice district. And then they are already awarded World Heritage Site, if I'm not mistaken. So that is the city center of Hanoi. But most of the, yes, Hanoi people are living in the suburbs. So they are living in this kind of so-called row houses, terrace house, 4 or 5-story terrace houses. And then they are expanding the city again and again. So therefore, if we go to the suburbs, the edge of the city, they are developing this kind of very huge mega development. So they are constructing especially the high-rise apartments, as you can see here. And then they expand the city day by day, even today. Okay, that is Hanoi. Okay, so then surprisingly, so they now plan to expand the city furthermore. So as you can see here, that in 2010, yes, they proposed a new blueprint, new Hanoi master plan towards the 2030. So this is the blueprint of Hanoi, yeah, just based on their master plan. And yes, as I mentioned, that currently already big city. So the population is already 6 or 7 million, as I mentioned. But now, yes, they plan to expand the city further until, yes, about 10 million until 2030. Okay. So now they are implementing actually. So expand the city again and again. So then our concern was, what will become of the urban temperature if they really expand the city, if they really implement this master plan and then expand the city? So then what will become of the urban climate? Because already hot climate, as I mentioned, and then because of the urban heat island, so I think they may experience the further temperature increase. So that was our concern. Okay, and then in fact, they already experienced the urban heat island effect. So this just shows the observation data. So historical data of temperature, in city center, which is red, and a rural area, which is green. Okay, in Hanoi, right? From 1980s to the present. Okay, so as you know that, yeah, temperature difference between urban and rural area is so-called urban heat island intensity, right? So that urban heat island intensity has been now gradually but certainly increasing, as you can see here. So this is the urban heat island effect, right? And then now the temperature difference between rural and urban can be 1 or 2 degrees Celsius already, as you can see here, right? But as I mentioned, furthermore, they now try to expand the city very largely and until 10 million until 2030. So then our concern is, what will become of the really urban climate? Because they will receive, in a way, double punch. Double punch means one is the global warming, right? The flatly, yes, now the global warming is accelerating. So therefore, yes, because of the global warming, temperature will be increased. That's punch number one. Then number two is, yes, the urban heat island, right? They expand the city furthermore. So then due to the further urbanization, the temperature will be increased, right? And then due to the two punches, so global warming and urban heat island, what will become of the future urban climate in Hanoi? So that was our concern. And then in order to understand the future situation, yes, we conducted the numerical simulation. using the software, WRF software, so-called. And also we also predict the global warming effect. And then we predict the future urban climate in Hanoi in 2030. Okay, so let's take a look at the simulation results. Right, we conducted the simulation in 4 different cases, as you can see here. Right. Case 1 is the base case, and case 2, 1 until 3 is the future scenarios. Okay, so for the urban climate simulation, there are 2 important input data. So one important, first important data are the land use condition. So needless to say, land use condition do affect the urban climate, right? The most important cause of the urban heat island is actually the change of the land use from the normal, natural surface to the artificial surface, and then the urban temperature is increased. Right. So anyway, the land use condition is the most important, the background condition that affect the urban heat island. That's number 1. Number 2 is the background weather condition. This also do affect the, needless to say, the urban climate. So therefore, that is the second important input data for the urban climate simulation. Okay, and then the case 1 is, as I mentioned, is a baseline scenario, baseline case. So this means that we input the current land use condition. So which is, and this is not the exact current. This we conduct this research several years ago. But so let me say current 2010. I'm sorry. Okay, and then also we input the current weather condition. So which is 2013 condition. Okay, the land use condition current, and input weather condition, background weather condition is also current. So that is case 1, the base case. And then as I mentioned, 2.1 is the future scenario, right? And then we change the land use condition only from the current to the future master plan condition proposed by the Hanoi master plan, future master plan land use condition. But purposely we use the current weather condition for case 2.1. So weather condition is the same, current weather condition, but the land use condition is different from between current and future. So therefore, needless to say, the difference between the 2, case 1 and 2.1, simply indicates the effect of urban heat island. Okay, the urbanization, right? So that is first important comparison, right? The case 2.2 and 2.3, so we consider the global warming effect. So we simulate also the global warming effect, and then thanks to the IPCC data set, and then we predict the future urban climate. Okay, so that is number 2.2 and 2.3. So what's the difference between 2.2 and 2.3? So that is the RCP. So as you may know, the IPCC now predict the future urban climate, global climate, in different scenarios, right? That is called RCP. So the 4.5 scenario is the medium scenario. And then as you may know, that the 8.5 is the worst scenario. Okay, so we just applied the 2 different scenarios for our prediction, right? And then the point is, case 2.2 and 2.3, similarly, we change the land use condition first. So still, the future land, master plan land use condition, and now we change the background weather condition. Now we consider the global warming effect. Okay, so the future weather condition. So therefore, if we compare 2.1 and 2.2, the land use condition is the same, the master plan future condition. The 2.1 does not consider the global warming effect. 2.2 consider the global warming effect. So therefore, the difference between the 2 is, needless to say, the temperature increase due to the global warming. Okay, so then let's take a look at the 2 comparison. The first comparison is the effect of the simply urbanization, urban heat island. Comparison 2 is the effect of the global warming. Let's try to figure out the difference between the two, punch one and punch two. In other words, punch one is this. This is simply the effect of the urbanization. Okay, urban heat island. Left-hand side shows the the case one, the current land use scenario. Okay, right-hand side shows the master plan land use scenario. Okay, and then the upper two figures indicates the nighttime simulation results, and the lower part indicates the daytime results. Okay, Hanoi is already hot, very hot, and then the June is the peak months, and then we purposely choose June, for example. And then the already, the daytime temperature, for instance, even in the current, the condition, okay, the maximum temperature can be 37 or degrees Celsius, as you can see here. And nighttime temperature also does more, even in the current condition, is quite hot. So already 28 or degrees Celsius or something. Right? And then what will become of the temperature in Hanoi after implementation of the master plan? Right, let's take a look. As you may know, urban heat island effect is intense, especially during the nighttime, because the urban area is a concrete jungle, and the concrete and asphalt absorb the heat and store the heat because the thermal capacity is high. So therefore, then release the heat during the nighttime. So therefore, the urban heat island effect can be seen, especially during the nighttime. Right. So that is true because as expected, as you can see here, yes, nighttime temperature will be increased according to our simulation by about 1 degree Celsius from the current scenario to master plan scenario. So this is the effect of urbanization, effect of the urban heat island. Right. And interestingly, yes, the daytime maximum temperature remains the same. So this is because, as I mentioned, the important feature, the urban heat island effect is normally observed not during the daytime but during the nighttime. So therefore, the daytime, in contrast, yes, the maximum daytime temperature will remain the same. Already hot, but the same level. But the important difference is, needless to say, yes, the hot area will be enlarged very largely. This is simply because of the expansion of the city, right? Okay, so that is the heat island effect. So, and second is the global warming effect. So that is this. Okay. All right. So left-hand side indicates that case 2.1. 2.1 is the master plan, condition. So land use is the master plan, and then the purposely we give the current weather condition. So that is the first case. Okay, and then these two cases are consider the global warming effect. Okay, first let's take a look at the difference between the RCP 4.5 and 8.5. Right. So now, actually, the difference between the two scenarios is negligible. So this is because, actually, this is a bit scientific, the point, actually. So we are predicting short-term future, only 2030, right? So therefore, the difference between the two scenarios is negligible. If we predict the long-term future, for instance, the 2050 or 2100, most probably the difference between the two scenarios, 4.5 or 8.5, would be bigger than this, right? So that's why, yes, the difference here is negligible. So therefore, let's take a focus especially on only the 4.5 scenario. And then let's compare the 2.1 and 2.2, okay, in this study, right? So then now, yes, the global warming effect is much perhaps larger than that of the urban heat island effect in the case of Hanoi future. Right. As you can see here, unlike the urban heat island effect, so global warming effect can be seen flatly across all the region. So this is, of course, no wonder, right? Because this is not the urban heat island. So therefore, global warming will increase the temperature flatly all across the region, right, by about 1 or 2 degrees Celsius. as you can see here. And then not only during the, the nighttime, but also during the daytime. This is also important difference between urban heat island effect and yes, global warming effect, right? So yes, as I mentioned, the daytime temperature already very huge, hot in Hanoi, even in the current situation. They may experience the further increase in the future, very near future, 2030, by about 1 or 2. And then the maximum temperature can be 38 or 38 degrees Celsius. Let's summarize these results. Okay, so this is just a summary. So this indicates that at the summary, the daily temperature variation in existing urban areas and new urban areas. Existing urban area is needless to say that current land use is already urban, and then the future land use in 2030 is also urban to urban. So therefore, yes, urban heat island effect is not so big, but still there. 0.6 degrees increase will be due to the urban heat island effect during the peak hours. And then similarly, the temperature will be increased due to the urbanization during the nighttime by about 0.2 degrees Celsius. In this case, needless to say that yes, temperature will be increased mainly due to the global warming effect, so which is 1.5 during the peak hours, and then yes, this. So if our prediction is true, so they will experience the temperature increase of about 2.5 degrees Celsius during the peak hours, even in the existing urban areas. New urban areas, yes, the current land use is rural, let's say, and then the future land use is urban. So yes, they will change the land use dramatically from urban to rural to urban. So therefore, yes, urban heat island effect is huge, as you can see here, 1 degree Celsius. And then on top of that, they also, needless to say, experience the a global warming effect. So therefore, the peak temperature can be increased by about 2.7 degrees Celsius, according to our simulation result. So then, this is the summary. So what do you think? This is I was very surprised to see this result for the first time. I'm talking about quite near future, 2030, which is already 8 years ahead. And then they may experience this kind of huge temperature increase in the near future in Hanoi. As I mentioned very repeatedly, they already experienced the hot, humid climate throughout the year. And then, 36 degrees Celsius or so. And then on top of that, they may increase the urban temperature further, 2 degrees Celsius. And then how can we bear this kind of rapid change of the climate in the future? So that is, yes, very important concern, right? And then let's go back to Indonesia. So this one is, yes, thank you, Nastuti Sensei. So this is Surabaya. And then, yes, in several years ago. But anyway, now your country also experienced the rapid urbanization, right? And then already urban area is crowded. So I do, believe that you already experienced the temperature increase because of the urbanization, right? But furthermore, now you try to, expand the city and increase the urban population, right? And then construct this kind of high-rise apartments in order to accommodate the, growing number of urban population, right? And then what will become of the future, right? The climate. So I think you will see the similar temperature increase, in your country also, right? Perhaps, you will see the temperature increase of 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, just like we saw in Hanoi, in Indonesia as well, 2030 or 2050. So how can we bear? So as I mentioned repeatedly, right? So now we are, this is very small topic actually. So, but I believe important topic. So therefore, yes, I would like to introduce this. Now we are, yes, together with Nastiti Sensei, Professor Nastiti, and then the Tokyo Institute of Technology, we are particularly now focused on the interested in the so-called contact cooling. Contact cooling is okay. I will tell you, later in detail. But anyway, so I think this is a very simple illustration from a textbook, right? Everybody knows this, right? So this shows the heat exchange of a human body. And then we exchange the heat, as you know, through convection, right, evaporation, radiation, and conduction, right? So according to our textbook, we normally ignore the heat transfer through conduction because in the normal building environment, our contact area is very limited. Only the sole of the shoes and then the normally rubber. So therefore, that we don't exchange heat through conduction. So therefore, as you know, as I mentioned, normally in our calculation of thermal comfort and thermal balance, we sometimes ignore the heat exchange through conduction, right? But as you may know, the conduction is the most efficient way to transfer the heat, right? For instance, if we want to cool the beer, I don't drink alcohol, but anyway, so then the fastest way is to put the can of beer into the cold water, like for instance, and then we quickly cool the cold drink very quickly. Right? So this clearly shows that conduction is the most efficient way to transfer the heat. In fact, if you take a look at the people in in the tropical country like Indonesia, right? Sometimes people are sitting directly on the floor, and then just for example, this one, the kids in the corridor space in the apartment, right? They are sometimes the corridor space is sometimes comfortable more than rather than the inside of the units. So therefore, the people come to this kind of corridor space and enjoy chatting, and then and so on and so forth. And then they are sitting directly on the floor, and then it seems they are enjoying the cool directly from the floor. Okay, and then according to our partner, the Professor Asawa of Tokyo Institute of Technology, so he said that the blood vessels are concentrated on the sole of foot in particular. So therefore, the sole of the foot is in a way very sensitive for the thermal conditions, right? So and then now we are doing this kind of experiment together with the Indonesian team like ITS Professor Nastiti and also Gajah Mada University and also the Bina Technic, the Puskim. This is just a tentative pilot survey conducted in Tokyo Institute of Technology. We use the subject student as a subject, and then we change the ambient environment and also the surface temperature of the floor, and then we do the interview and investigate the thermal sensation, right? And then we try to find the optimum surface temperature of the floor, right? So that, and then at the same time, we are also doing this kind of numerical simulation in order to reveal the thermal mechanism of the human body, especially focusing on the contact cooling effect, right? So then this is really tentative, ongoing, actually, the result. And then I just borrowed this result from the Professor Asawa's laboratory, right? So it's y-axis indicates that thermal sensation result. So the 2 indicates hot, 1 slightly hot, and 0 neutral, and so on and so forth. And then we change the surface temperature, as you can see here. And then it seems that the surface temperature should be not too cold and not too hot. So for instance, if we reduce the surface temperature to 20 degrees Celsius, for instance, some subject said that slightly cold. So perhaps that 20 degrees Celsius is perhaps too cold. But if we increase the surface temperature to 28 degrees Celsius, for instance, it is too hot, and then perhaps there was no cooling effect at all. So that's why perhaps we can find the optimum temperature, surface temperature range or something in between, perhaps, right? But anyway, now we are investigating, and then so this is just a tentative, ongoing, the result. With this in mind, so now we try to develop and then propose the new cooling system for the tropics. So so-called radiant floor cooling system. Okay, so this one also joint research actually with the Indonesian counterparts and also YKKAP Indonesia. All right, so let me introduce the ongoing results. The idea of our system is this. So by making use of the night ventilation and then the relatively cool outdoor air nighttime, so we try to cool the building structure as much as possible. So as you can see here, we first designed this kind of small space under the floor. Okay, and then the one side, yes, we put the exhaust fan, and then here we designed the louver window. Okay, and then we put the PCM. PCM is, as you know, that the phase change material that can, the artificially we can change the thermal, capacity artificially. So that is so-called PCM. And then we put PCM just beneath the floor, and then the forcibly we ventilate this small space, and then cool the PCM as well as floor structure as much as possible. Right? And then this PCM and floor structure store the cool. And then, therefore, even during the daytime, yes, the occupant can enjoy the cool from the floor through not only through radiant cooling effect, but also through direct contact. The contact cooling effect. Okay, and then so in that case, we believe that they can open window. Right. So why I say so? Because if they open window, as you know, that the warm temperature will enter. So therefore, normally if they open windows in the tropics, of course, the indoor temperature will be increased. Right. So therefore, we cannot expect a cool temperature inside, but they can enjoy the breeze, a certain wind speed, and also yes, the cool from the floor through radiation and through direct contact. Right. So therefore, we believe that still the occupant may be able to achieve the thermal comfort. Okay, even with opening windows. All right. So that is the concept of this cooling system. Right. So why I said the contact cooling is so important now? Because as I mentioned, now temperature is rising and rising. So therefore, we cannot cool our body through convection in the near future, right? So if so, okay, we cannot rely on the convectional cooling. So therefore, yes, we have to, rely on the other method. So perhaps, conduction, contact cooling is perhaps one of the efficient ways to cool our body, without relying on the convection. All right, so then this one is just inside of our system, and then we now demonstrate our the system cooling system by using the full-scale experimental house. So we constructed this experimental house in together with by YKKAP Indonesia, as I mentioned, in Tangerang, Jakarta, and yes, this is the inside. So as I mentioned, we designed this kind of tiny space and increase the wind speed, as I mentioned. And this is the backside of the floor tile. So we first put the PCM inside of the aluminum pack, and then we put the aluminum pack just backside of the floor panel. Okay, so that is the detail of our cooling system. And then now we try to find the optimal window design for our system. So window design is a bit important for us. Why so important? Because now we want to give the wind only to the occupant. We don't want to give the wind to the the floor structure, because now we try to cool the floor structure as much as possible, right? So then the outdoor temperature is very high. So if we give the outdoor air to the the floor structure, of course right, the floor structure will be warmed. So therefore we don't want to do that. So we only want to give the air, outdoor warm air, only to the occupant, only straightforwardly, right? So then in this case, what kind of window design is the most appropriate for that purpose, right? So then now we try to find it by using this, the experimental house, right? So we change the window design. So this is a full opening, and then the hanging type and casement type, and then these are some type of the horizontal pivot window, right? And then we measure the wind speed at the different levels and different places, okay? And then we see the effect of the the window design, okay? Then this is just also the ongoing results. So this simply indicates the wind speed measured at the different levels, right? Different heights at different places. So left-hand side indicates that yes, the windward side wind speed, and these are the wind speed measured at the middle of the room, and this one is the leeward side of the room, and then why so many the line chart, because the one line chart indicates the measurement result by the one certain window design, okay. And then we found that it seems that the horizontal pivot window give us the good results. So in the case of horizontal pivot window, if you open, the the horizontally, I mean the 90-degree opening, angle. So in that case, yes, we can give straightforwardly the nice wind only to the occupants, okay. And then anyway, and then if we do so, we manage to reduce the SET star, to a certain extent, as you can see here. And then we found that yes, most probably we still will be able to achieve the thermal comfort for the occupants, even with opening windows. Okay, so these are the summary. And then lastly, I'd like to show you our ongoing project partially. So yes, we have just constructed the full-scale experimental house in the city of Tegal, together with the Indonesian counterparts like Bina Teknik Puskim, and also the major Indonesian universities like ITS. Okay. This is a concept of a new experimental house. So yes, as you may know, the most of the apartments in the Indonesia, and also I can say that most of the Southeast Asian region, is the actually so-called double-loaded apartment. Double-loaded apartment means that the center part is the corridor, and then both sides of the corridor they design the occupied spaces, right? So in this case, as you know that yes, the windward side is okay, so they can enjoy still the ventilation, the good wind from the outside, right? But for the leeward side of the building, right? So it's not so good, right? They cannot enjoy the nice, cross ventilation, right? In the case of this kind of double-loaded apartment, right? So then our important question is, how can we stimulate the cross ventilation for the leeward side of the building in the case of this kind of double-loaded apartment, right? That's a very important question, because double-loaded apartment is really common in your country and also in the tropics. Right? We found that yes, the straightforward way is to design this kind of vertical void in between inside of the building. Then we can stimulate the cross ventilation even in the leeward side of the building. Our concept is this. So first we design the pivoted space, and then the prevailing wind is that come from the right hand side, for instance. And then first we can increase the prevailing wind thanks to the pivoted space, because venturi effect happened because of the pivoted space. So therefore the wind speed inside of pivoted is relatively high, actually, interestingly, because a venturi effect is there. And then after increasing the wind speed, we direct the wind towards the void space by putting the wind catcher here. Okay, and then purposely we try to increase the air pressure inside of the void space, right? So we purposely close the void. This is also important point, actually. So then we increase the air pressure inside of the void, and then once we increase the air pressure inside of the void, yes, the pressure difference can be generated between here and here, and then the even leeward side of the building, they can enjoy the good cross ventilation. Right. So that's a concept of this experimental house. Right. And then yes, we conducted the opening ceremony in March 2020, 2 years ago. And actually, this is slightly after the corona, pandemic happened. So therefore, unfortunately, we couldn't go. But anyway, yes, thanks to the local counterparts. So yes, they conducted nicely the opening ceremony, and this is the mayor of the city, and yes, a gentleman from PUPR and some gentleman from Japanese company, and okay. So then this is the overview of the experimental house. So please, if you are interested in, please come to this place, and then I'd like to show you the detail of this experimental house. So this is inside. Right. So we designed the vertical void, as I mentioned, and here is a wind fin, and then the prevailing wind come from the right-hand side. So then I think that even leeward side, they can enjoy the cross ventilation thanks to the this internal void. Okay. So then this is the last slide. I'm sorry. Right. I think that these are perhaps the important keys for achieving sustainable housing in the tropics, like Indonesia. Right. First, I think, yes, the passive design, especially passive cooling is the, important key. Right. I think that everybody perhaps agreed. Right. So yes, you experience the hot and humid climate, not only during the summer, but also throughout the year. So therefore, cooling techniques is a crucial, needless to say, because once the people use air conditioning, that consume huge amount of energy, as you know. So therefore, we should apply passive design, particularly passive cooling techniques wherever possible in order to reduce the energy consumption for cooling purpose. Right. And second is adaptation. Right. So now is temperature increase is in a way inevitable, as I mentioned, for a certain extent. Right. As I mentioned, even even if we stop the carbon emission today totally, but still temperature will be increased, right, for over the next several decades, right? So therefore temperature increase in the near future, like Hanoi, is inevitable. So then we have to adapt to such a the temperature increase and also climate change, right? So that's important. We may have to perhaps adjust or reconsider our behavior. Even we need to perhaps adjust our lifestyle as well. And also we need to enhance the public awareness. So these things are important. Point number 2, adaptation. Number 3 is also, this is common sense in a way. Also the material sustainability is also, we should not forget about this. Right? So operational energy is of course sometimes often bigger than that of the embodied energy, but still the energy used during the construction can be huge, right? So as you may know that the steel production and also the concrete production, the particularly consume energy, as you may know. So therefore if you construct the RC building, the reinforced concrete building, right? If so, I think that you cannot reduce the embodied energy dramatically, right? So therefore, now I'm interested in the wooden structure, right? Because if we construct the wooden structure, so then thanks to the so-called carbon neutrality, so perhaps we can dramatically reduce the carbon emission, carbon footprint, right? So therefore, yes, I think wooden structure also should be pay attention, right? Number 4, last one is affordability, right? Of course, unlike Japan, so now the Indonesia, your country is enjoying the nice, stable, economic growth, which is good, right? And then now you establish the middle class and so on and so forth, which is also good. But still, you now suffer still of the shortage of houses, right? And then you need to provide affordable houses, especially for the relatively poor people, right? So therefore, still, some affordability is a very strongly required, right? So therefore, we need to achieve, keep the balance between, the 2 things and 3 things at the same time. Economic development is number 1. And at the same time, the environmental issues, like energy issues, we need to achieve the energy saving and low carbon, and then even zero carbon is now required. And at the same time, we need to improve the indoor, the environment, like thermal comfort and now healthy environment, okay, at the same time. And then eventually we need to improve the quality of life. of the public people, right? So these are perhaps the most important challenge and that we face ahead, okay, in developing countries like Indonesia, right? So, okay, that's all from my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Professor Kubota, for the interesting and very broad view of, and we can open our mind to the discussion here and about this topic of your presentation. The main issue is about the global warming and environmental degradation. That is three points that I can highlight it here. How the master plan or urban master plan contribute in climate in the future. I mean the climate change, and then how the building support to keep the smaller increase in air temperature or increase in air temperature. And the third is I highlight it from your presentation. Conduction is the most efficient way to keep the thermal comfort. Can we say that it is a hypothesis that we or the research team will do the experiment by the with the contact cooling effect and radiant cooling effect, and selecting the or introducing the material that can support the thermal comfort. I think so. And then there is a lot of question in the chat room. Could you please the committee could you please help me to present the or to share this question one by one? I will start the first question. Is it okay? Okay, thank you. So the first question is from Bapak Bakri, Bapak or Saudara Bakri. This presentation is very interesting. I would like to ask how way to anticipate this condition until to 2030 based on the architecture plan. Kubota Sensei, maybe.
Okay, thank you very much for your nice question. Just want to get interested. How to anticipate this condition until based on the architecture plan. Oh, it's a difficult.
Yeah, about the design, architecture design.
Okay, we conduct a building simulation actually after the urban, the urban climate simulation, result. So after that, yes, we further conducted the building simulation by taking one typical house, for example, and then in the case of Hanoi, as I mentioned, the temperature may be increased further by 1 or 2 degrees Celsius in the near future, and then but it's still already, as I mentioned, the temperature now in the even current condition very hot, 36 or so, right? And then we try to see what will become of the indoor temperature if the urban temperature will be really increased in the future, right? From 36 to 38 degrees Celsius. And then we found that, yes, the number one result is they cannot bear the increased temperature without using air conditioning, unfortunately. Right? And then even when they use air conditioning, if the outer temperature will be increased by 2 degrees Celsius, so yes, that will increase the cooling load very much. And then that will, the result in the huge increase in, the energy consumption for air conditioning, right? About 15 or 16% increase will be expected, right? So therefore, yes, I think that then after that we try to apply some some energy saving measures. For instance, now they don't install for instance, the thermal insulation, as you may know. And then, yes, in the simulation, we, apply the simulation insulation, and not only for the wall, but also for the roof, and also we also apply the reflective glazing for the windows, and etc. We, apply the, various types of the energy saving measures. And then we found that, yes, that these energy saving measures like thermal insulation and the reflective, the paint or, glazing, very effective. But at the best, we can reduce the energy consumption by 30 or 40%. So this means that even if they apply such energy saving measures in the future, right? So perhaps, yes, still the energy consumption for cooling will be increased by a certain extent. Did I answer
How
this
about,
question?
how about the answer, Pak Bakri? Is it okay?
Difficult to, okay.
Thank you. And then the second question from Ibu Andi Jibarifai. In your research, what is the most dominant variable that influences the urban heat island in your case?
Okay, so as you know that there are, yes, several major causes of urban heat island, right? One is the, needless to say, change of the land use. So yes, that is the most important, factor that affect the urban heat island. Second is the anthropogenic heat. So the heat is generated, needless to say, from most of our human activities, like car, air conditioning, and then even ourselves also generate heat. So most of the, yes, human activity generate heat. So this is called anthropogenic heat, right? And then the third is the perhaps also, okay, air pollution, right? Air pollution sometimes, yes, play a role as a dust dome. So this, air pollution dome, dust dome, trap the heat and then increase the, the urban temperature. So that is also important cause, right? Four is the lack of green spaces and water bodies, right? So that is perhaps number 4. These are the perhaps the major causes of urban heat island, actually. So if I'm not mistaken, right? Perhaps you are, the cities most probably experience that, you have most of the causes, right? So for instance, you are, the cities like Jakarta, Surabaya, for instance, already concrete jungle, right? You totally change the land use from natural surface to the artificial surface. That's cause number 1. Second is, yes, you are now driving a lot of cars and then use a lot of air conditioning and etc. That is anthropogenic heat, number 2, right? And then 3 is, yes, in Jakarta, Surabaya, I think, do you have, sufficient green areas or water bodies? Perhaps no, right? So that is the cause number 3. Right? And you also experience the air pollution, right? And that is also cause number 4. So therefore, most probably, you now experience the urban heat island, unfortunately. But this is inevitable in a way, right?
So, Professor Kubota has mentioned that the most important 4 variable, that is land use, anthropogenic heat, and green area and water body, and also air pollution is also contribute the urban heat island. Is okay, Ibu Andi?
Iya, sudah.
Okay, thank you. And the third question from Ibu Putri, what is the difference and the same result for Hanoi and Surabaya in urban heat islands? In your opinion, is there any way to reduce it significantly by water bodies or something?
Okay, first of all, in a way, as you may know that in a way, urban heat island is in a way inevitable. right? Because as I mentioned, these are the main causes, right? The change of land use, and then and etc. Right? For instance, the change of land use, right? Okay, from a rural setting to urban area, right? So now, do you think it is possible to completely eliminate the urban heat island effect in the urban area? Right? It is impossible, right? Because one of the most important cause of the urban heat island is the land use change from the rural area to urban area. So this means that once you construct the urban area, the temperature increase is inevitable, right? So therefore, we normally say, urban heat island mitigations, right? So this means that we cannot stop urban heat island. All we can do is to just reduce the negative effect of the urban heat island. So therefore, we say, the mitigation measures, right? So yes, the mitigation countermeasures is actually the opposite of the causes, right? As I said that the lack of green spaces, water body is the cause of the urban heat island. In contrast, yes, if you increase the green areas, water bodies, yes, that can be the good countermeasure for the urban heat island, right? Okay, did I answer your question? So, Surabaya, most probably you already experienced that, yes, urban heat island. This is, as I mentioned, once people gather into small space, no, I'm sorry, the urban area is not a small space, but in one place, yes, that you generate heat, and therefore the urban heat island is there. And then the wind play an important role, as you may know. Wind, can disperse the heat and air pollution. So therefore, in Japan, for instance, yes, now that many local authorities now try to, increase the so-called urban ventilation. So, in order to disperse the heat and also the air pollution. So what we do is to, for instance, to make use of the river wind. Right, the river is the good, so sometimes play as a role as the wind corridor, right? And so therefore, the river can bring the nice sea breeze from the sea to the cities. So therefore, I think it's important, to make use of the river to cool the the built up areas, right? So. And then also the purposely we reduce the density of the building, and then create some corridor space for the wind, right? So such a things is now incorporated in the urban planning in Japan actually. So key is the green area, water bodies, and wind perhaps.
So, we cannot stop the urban heat island, but to do urban heat mitigation or to mitigate the urban heat is our role in urban area or and then in this large scale or for urban, and then the small scale in building, and then also construction and material. Is it okay?
Okay. And also, I'd like to emphasize one more point. Protection is also important. As I mentioned, a certain level of temperature increase is now inevitable, right? So if so, we need to protect our people, citizens, from the temperature increase, right? So, for instance, the better to provide sufficient thermal insulation in a way. For example, to all the buildings in the city, for instance, in order to protect the people from the increased temperature in the future. So, such a building measure is also very important, right? Protection measures. That's my opinion, right? For instance, maybe you can, give the reflective paint, for instance, for all the people living in the city, right? So that they can, slightly reduce the heat, inside of the, the building, for instance, right? For instance, the people in the compound houses, for instance, they are poor, right? For instance, and then now if, just imagine how can they bear the increased temperature in the future in the kampong area, for instance, they cannot afford to purchase the air conditioning perhaps, right? So then the temperature will be increased and increased. And then perhaps I believe that some of the people may be, may be killed, I think, in the future because of the heat stroke or something, right? Because of the heat wave or something, right? So then we need to protect such a things, right? The poor people, right, from the increased temperature, right? So one way is to give such a things. Building measures are also very important, actually.
Okay. To protect people to the temperature increase, that is, that is
serious.
Through the serious temperature increase, and then we can propose an insulation, but the insulation for the roof, from the above heat, from not from the wall, maybe, but because the wall we can use as the not insulate this wall system, but to increase the wind for physiological comfort, maybe. Then opening the house or building for passive cooling. Is it okay? But is it still in discussion that you have delivered in your presentation today about the convective and conduction, not convective, convective, convective and conduction process of the heat transfer. The fourth question from Bapak Mustafa: how much screen area do you provide in Hanoi City
Excuse
to
me,
reduce
maybe the time.
To reduce the city temperature by 2030? How about clean water availability in the city?
Excuse me, Bu Nastiti, time is up, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I
Very
I'm
interesting.
sorry. Unfortunately, the time is up, and our collaboration is never been ended. Professor Kubota, maybe thank you so much for all who participates in this session, and for the question and the answer from Professor Kubota. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hello, Professor. Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Hello,
Good morning.
Professor. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I will first read your CV. Is it okay?
Yes, no problem. And tell me when I can start sharing.
Okay. This is Professor Paolo Caratelli CV. So Paolo Caratelli is a licensed architect in Italy. Currently a full-time faculty as Associate Professor of Architecture in Abu Dhabi University since 2011. The education is for the diploma in visual art and architecture from Fama Art High School in Florence, and he is cum laude in Master of Architecture and the PhD in Architectural Design and Urban from the University of Florence, Italy. Professor Paolo Caratelli is an active researcher on architectural and urban sustainability theory and practice, modern heritage conservation, and investigator about social and cultural change in architecture design. And he published several international papers and as a guest editor in review for Scopus Scientific Journal. I also, together with Professor Paolo Caratelli, joined the SPSD community. And currently, his research field is focused on design and technology integration into habitat in isolated, confined, extreme environment as a paradigm of self-sufficiency in environmental society sustainability. So it's a techno-theoretical researches for building in original environment. I believe that Prof. Paolo Caratelli have many achievements in design, and also I think as he joined the space community, right, Professor Caratelli? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So maybe you can present your presentation. Thank you. This time is yours.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. It's sharing.
Yes, it is sharing. Please continue, Professor.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And thanks to the organizer of the second International Conference on Science in Engineering and Technology and the 22nd Sustainable Environment and Architecture organizer for inviting me. I'm Paolo Caratelli. I'm Associate Professor at Abu Dhabi University. This keynote speech would like to start with discussion and open lecture about the role of space technologies for future sustainable development. Starting from the title that is Looking Up. Looking Up is a paraphrasing movie that has been released in 2021, an American movie, which is practically a parody, but more a metaphor of what could happen if the establishment is incapable to better understand what they could be the potential dangers coming from the environment. In that case, without spoiling the movie for whom as didn't see yet, but without spoiling, is practically a danger coming from outer space and the political, cultural, social establishment is not capable to give a real significance of this incoming danger, and then until the irreparable event happen really. Obviously, this is a metaphor of what we are currently experiencing in our environment. I would thank Professor Tetsu for the very interesting speech that preceded me, and this seems that we are in the same wavelength, in the same mindset, because also in my presentation I start with this slide provided by ESA, the European Space Agency. Is coming from the Copernicus program, that is a program of a European Space Agency to monitor the environmental effect that are currently developing right now. And this picture is the city center of Milan in Italy, with the land surface temperature has recorded on 18 June of this year. So practically a month ago, a little bit more than 1 month ago. The temperature on June, that is the beginning of summer in Italy, as you can see, the heat island effect that Professor Tetsu was speaking right now, this you can see a visualization with different and several concentration. I don't know if it's visible my cursor, and you can see areas that are more hot, ranging around 48 degrees at land, and other areas that are in coincidence practically with greenery, with parks. So this is already a clear vision of how greenery can mitigate, or has the potential to mitigate the heat island effect. Obviously, this picture is coming from a satellite, and then we are going into the topic of this keynote. A satellite that is constantly monitoring the state of the health of our planet. A huge amount of data that is flowing continuously, that are beamed daily from this privileged observatory to ground, and providing the data that are useful for us as researchers or as observers in some cases, to start to understand what is the current situation of our environment. And this conference happened in a very particular year. 2022 will be definitely recorded as one of the hottest years in our recorded history. I'm in Italy right now in this moment, and Central Europe is, especially this summer, is practically experiencing what would significate the prevision, or what has been theorized till now about global warming, but is happening at accelerate rate right now. In these other two pictures taken by the Copernicus program is practically the land surface temperature in Spain and in France on 17th of July. And this other is practically the current situation of the Great Salt Lake in US, where is visible the entire water body that is in a condition of sufferance. So global warming means a complete disruption of the thermodynamics of our planet, means extreme temperatures at ground, means extreme weather, means that our planet is transforming progressively into an extreme environment itself. And this obviously call has to intervention, to action, not only as a professional, but everyone has citizen, as researchers, as people living on this planet that an architect in 1969, Buckminster Fuller, defined as a spaceship. All of us, we are astronauts on board of a spaceship. All of us, we are commonly tied to our planet. Our behavior towards our planet till now has been like the behavior towards something that is expandable, something that can be exploited, something that we don't have any ethical reference or ethical approach or ethical care of what we are going to give to the generation to come, to the future generation. My keynote, this speech, is an invitation to discuss, an invitation to open and think that we need a multidisciplinary effort, multidisciplinary approach to the issue of environmental sustainability. It's a great opportunity during this conference to speak towards and to speak with multiple experts and belonging to different disciplines. And it's a great opportunity also for us to start exchanging and think that all the problems are related and connected, and an invitation to have a looking up this time to better understand what we have here right now. So it's an invitation again to the problem or try to find an answer of environmental sustainability through the prism of research that are right now happening in technology. This picture is another picture of taken on early 2021 this time, and is practically showing the record of the detach of one of the biggest iceberg from the ice shelf of Antarctica. This one contributed with a rising of the sea level globally of around 1 millimeter. Now we can say what is 1 millimeter in the sea level, global sea level. Has been previewed that due to global warming, if the entire ice caps, including the Arctic or Greenland, if the entire ice caps, they would melt due the previewed rising temperature has been illustrated before Professor Tetsu, the rising in the sea level will be around 6 meters, not only 1 millimeter, 6 meters. So this means the issue is serious. The time is practically accelerating what it was supposed to be a tendency, and would be something happening maybe end of this century. Is happening right now and is incredibly accelerating year after year. Then the discussion now is also about a new field and a new specialization, which is the design for extreme environment and the architecture, by derivation, the architecture of extreme environment. Why? Because once that we are confronting and we are trying to figure out the habitation and how we can live, trying to face the most extremes of the environments that we can have right now, like polar regions, dry desert, underwater, and more than any other space, we are practically activating a powerful driver of knowledge, of experience, of research, of development of processes, materials, technologies that can be extremely, extremely useful in order also to mitigate the effect of global warming, climate change, or whatever related. So in few words, is a powerful driver towards sustainability. Why sustainability, especially in the case of space? Because since the early manned space flight, if sustainability or behave in a sustainable way on our planet is an option, and unfortunately has been an option till now, once you are in a context, an environmental context, which is unforgiving, like this 4 presented here, summarized here, to be sustainable is a necessity. It's a matter of survival. It's not something that can be related only to economical terms or exclusively to social or to environmental terms, but both the three, all the three terms are needed, especially in the most extreme of the extreme environment, which is space. We know that to thrive and to survive, we need essentially 3 elements: water, food, and energy. Our planet is generous in these terms. Hydrogen and oxygen are present in the universe in a huge amount, but only in our planet they combine beautifully to form water, liquid water, because water is another element that is plenty of in the universe, but only in our planet or in our region where our planet is orbiting. This water is liquid because otherwise, closer to our star, the sun, is vapor because it's too hot. Far from our star is ice because it's extremely cold. The area where our planet is currently orbiting is called Goldilocks. Goldilocks means that is a place practically blessed, a blessed place. Energy. We have a huge flow of energy. Our sun is generously pummeling our planet with energy. But we decided to use other sources that are fossil sources to produce energy, and food. Food is what is needed to sustain a growing population. A growing population that is growing year after year. Then we have also not only to consider the matter of environmental sustainability in terms of industrial production or in terms of habitation, but how we produce the food for this growing population. Anyway, seems or apparently seems that on our planet, all this breathable atmosphere, air, water, plenty of food, energy is given. Then, in terms of professional and in terms of research, once we are facing areas of our universe or our planet that are extremely harsh, extremely dangerous for the human life, obviously that this became the most powerful driver to put and concentrate all the possible effort in terms of sustain the life, not only the biological life, but the life also in terms of psychologically or psychophysically terms. Just to think, for example, at Antarctica. This picture is the Halley 6 research station that has been designed by Hugh Broughton Architects in 2013. In the design itself has been figured out this settlement, because it's a human settlement, figuring out to be on another planet. The concept, the idea is to design this habitation and this series of habitation module, not thinking about Earth, but thinking about on one of the most unforgiving environment. With extremely great result, because maybe for the first time, the entire project of habitation, in this case, has for Antarctica, I'm referring to Antarctica, in this case, the extreme environment of Antarctica, has been affronted and looked at as a multidisciplinary approach, not only under the engineering aspect, but also the architectural aspect, figuring out that these are practically recreating a micro environment for a crew of people that they have to spend their wintering, the winter period, and the winter period is practically in the total darkness. All pictures that usually are taken in this case are in the austral summer, which is corresponding to the north winter, but are almost 6 months of daylight. After that, during the austral winter, corresponding right now to the summer of the northern hemisphere, now is a total darkness, complete pitch black darkness for almost 4 months. Obviously, that is something that is comparable to a crew of astronauts practically on another planet surface. And this is not a case that in Antarctica is currently used as a space analog to test, train the future astronauts in order to better understand what are the limits, the psychophysical limits, but not only, also the materials for construction in order to have or to guarantee the maximum performance in extreme condition. And this obviously drive us in this discussion, drive us towards sustainability, but the 3 pillars, the 3 domain of sustainability that is not only focused towards the environment, but is an harmonical balance of environment, society, and economy. And in this case, one of the questions that usually we heard as designers or researchers that are focused on space technology or a space environment as a paradigm for sustainability is okay, but the space or the aerospace technology is currently using or wasting a lot of material. Try to think, for example, the Apollo missions to reach the moon in the 60s and 70s. Of these huge, big machine rockets, at the end, if you think only a very tiny part return back to Earth. All the rest of the machinery was practically considered expendable and then wasted. It's true. This is belonging to the past. But especially, and this is also the reason of 2021 and 2022 has 2 pivotal years in our recent history. Space technologies and all the connected research, they focus also, in their case, on the 3 big domain of reduce, reuse, and recycle. Initially, thinking more directly to the economical aspect of sustainability. I'm researching science several years about the connection about or how the terrestrial environment can benefit by the research for the extraterrestrial environments. And I found very often the reference and connection to sustainability, but always in terms of economical sustainability. Paradoxically, focusing on the economical sustainability, the entire sector now is committed and is driven towards also the other 2 domains. The environment, because now, for example, rocket or launchers, as how they are referred, are not expendable anymore, except in some cases. But one of the biggest advancements has been that rockets now are reusable, fully reusable. And this has influenced and driven the research and the development towards the other aspect of sustainability, which is referred to society, because nothing is really considered sustainable if it's not represents also a benefit for the people. In this case, the reduction of the cost to access the outer space has opened a sort of democratization and even the opportunity for more countries to access the space as a third dimension of our environment. Another question could be, but for what reason we have to reach space if we have so many problems right now on Earth? Exactly for the same reason, because space is our third dimension. Space is part of our environment. Willing or not, we are already living in a space civilization. The reference to the beginning of this speech, the satellite, all our researchers, observation, all our development are practically related to an extended infrastructure deployed in space since the 1960s and 1970s. Willing or not, we are using space daily. Willing or not, I'm using space right now. I mean that I'm talking to a conference in Indonesia, and in this moment I'm practically 6 hours late. I'm on the other side of the planet. We are using space for watch a movie on internet, to communicate, to avoid getting stuck in traffic. We are using space technologies every day present in our homes, schools, offices, in our universities, in our hospitals, in our pocket. Cellular, for example, cellular phone, water filters, 3D printers, laser scanners, PV panels, photovoltaic panels, and a huge plethora of materials, advanced materials that we are right now, like the PV panels, for example, that we are using to protect against cold or hot, or to generate electricity, or to improve the production of food, are coming from space research. Conversely, natural systems are, and the investigation and the study about natural systems are becoming even more and more present in space research and development. We tend sometimes to think that space research is something restricted to an extremely specialized field of engineering. But now, with the most recent research and development, in space technology are contributing architects, are contributing artists, are contributing psychologists, botanists, physiologists, psychologists, and so on. All this derived by what we usually define as a researcher and journalist, Frank White, has defined as the overview effect. This picture is a famous picture. I'm sure that mostly of you know this picture, but I don't know if you know that the real significance of this picture taken on 24th December 1968 by Apollo 8 mission, once they were practically traveling towards the moon and returning back to Earth. This has been the very, very first picture taken by humans' eyes in the entire history of our species, of our civilization. For the very first time, 3 representatives of humanity, they were looking at their home planet from the perspective of another planet, the moon, and see the stark contrast between the barren surface of lifeless planet, our beautiful sphere, marble, blue and white, suspended in the darkness of the cosmos, of the space. The overview effect that generated and the emotional effect that generated this very first picture, once that it was practically released and diffused in the newspaper, in the media, on practically more than 50 years ago, many sociologists and researchers now, they are thinking that the environmental movement and a deeper consciousness about the fragility of our environment born and started exactly in that moment. Seeing how much tiny is our world, is not something that perceived from its surface, it looks endless, limitless. It's very, very limited. It's very, very small. It's very, very tiny and fragile. And another, and this is again part of the overview effect, that in a way or another, all people traveling and seeing their home, their planet or their country from outside, from distance, the overview effect that we experience, in this case, has generated something that ethically we would think that environment has no borders. All of us, we are the citizen and the passengers of this spaceship. The year after, 1969, Buckminster Fuller published a book, a seminal book, and Buckminster Fuller was an architect. His book was Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. So, like a sort of vademecum, a sort of manual, how to respect our vehicle, our spaceship, our home. But looking and thinking under practically the concept and the perspective of someone or a civilization that is already spacefaring, already leaving the universe. We are inhabiting the space since a long time now. And 2021, last year, despite the pandemic, we witness a resurgence and an increase, a rising of space activities and the highest number of humans simultaneously in space since practically the very first space flight in the 60s. So we are already going towards a spacefaring civilization, and all our professions are called to contribute. Conversely, all the experiences that we are accumulating, they can be reused on our planet, what is called spin in and spin off. I mentioned before, for example, the PV panels. PV panels, first of all, they have been developed for space, satellites, and for orbiting station. Only later they have been adapted for the use on our environment, but are not only this technological feature that hold a debit towards the space technologies. For example, many artificial fibers that are used in clothes, or the water filtration systems that are commonly used now to solve the problem of drastic and dangerous reduction of drinkable water on our planet. So practically, in terms of as architects, as engineers, as botanists, as researchers, we currently hold a huge debate towards space research. And now I would like just to mention briefly the rising field of research that is growing, which is called space architecture, this is the field in which I'm recently spending more energy, is architecture in extreme environment. Architecture in extreme environment has a paradigm of the research and application of the best solution and the best technologies in order to achieve what has been mentioned before in terms, for example, I took some notes during the interesting speech of Professor Tetsu. He mentioned passive cooling, adaptation, material sustainability, and affordability. All these 4 items are fully, and they have to be fully respected also in this particular branch that is architecture for extreme environment. Because as I said, if we can behave sustainable or not on our ordinary terrestrial environment, once we are in space, we cannot, absolutely. It's compulsory to behave in a sustainable way. Now, the concept will be, why not to use this thinking or use this driver also to promote a better sustainable future also in our planet. This picture is a project by SOM, Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. You know that is one of the biggest architecture and engineering firm. This is the Moon Village, the project that Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill is developing together with the European Space Agency and NASA. The Moon Village will be our next settlement our next expansion beyond our planet or beyond our thin atmosphere. Is science fiction? Is a future that will be really, really distant? Don't think so, because the efforts and the research that are focusing right now is to achieve this big next step outside our planet within 2030. Hopefully, what is happening right now in the world, the deterioration of the geopolitical situation and the accelerated deterioration of our environment would not hamper this next challenge. But it's also true, another thing, that in my opinion, and is a personal opinion, if we are crossing a very difficult moment, difficult period in our most recent history, we can use this as an opportunity to better understand that we are only one planet. We are only one people. We are, especially now that we are seeing the effect of reckless use of our resources, now maybe this would generate a counter effect, an ethical push to think that if it's so difficult and so complicated to live outside our comfortable environment, for what reason we have to continue to destroy our environment. If it's so difficult to behave and relate each other as a different people, try to think about the sailors in the high seas. Science at the beginning.
Excuse me, Professor Paulo, can you move faster because we have one.
Okay, yes, thank you, Dr. Puteri. So, this is a series of projects that are currently in development, and this one is another lunar habitat designed by Foster and Partners. I mean, Sir Norman Foster and Partners. And this one, I'm accelerating. This one is an extremely interesting project. Has been is designed in 2019. Yes, before the pandemic. It's practically the result of a competition that it was promoted by NASA, won by this project, MARSHA, which is the acronym of Mars Habitat, by AI Space Factory. AI Space Factory is not an engineering firm, but is a multidisciplinary firm which is composing by engineers, architects, psychologists, and physicists, and so on. So it's a multidisciplinary architects that developed this project, 3D printed, which has won the competition, but has also attracted the interest, and in fact, the same project with the same criteria and even the same material, because it's using a 3D printing of polylactic acid, has been proposed also for Earth. So it's an interesting project that for the first time designed to think about the future life on another planet, the lesson and the lesson inherited and the technology developed has been developed and returned back to the Earth. Thank you so much. This is my email. I'm really curious and really I would like to receive your opinion. Thank you so much, and thanks to the organizer of this conference.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Paolo Caratelli, for such an inspiring presentation. I want to highlight some of your presentation. It's based on the, how to say, consideration or concern about our species, which is year by year have a global warming, something like that, and how the people use the space, and it should be aware about how we use the space. And then the space we use not only for in inner space, in Earth, in outer space also. So we made a simulation, the research made simulation about the harshest environment, how we could live in a harshest environment. And we need to provide like food, and then water, the important thing, and also like today's how to say, we need energy. We cannot live without energy today. So maybe because the time is up, I do sorry. I really have, there is a lot of question raised here from the participants, but maybe we should move forward to the next keynote speaker, and then after that, if we still have time, and then please stay tuned. Can answer some question from the audience here. Thank you so much, Professor Caratelli.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe Hendra.
Thank you, Mrs. Putri. Next, we move to the third keynote speaker for today's session. Professor Wahyu Kaisarendra. Good afternoon, Professor Wahyu. Professor Wahyu.
Akil.
Hello, Prof. Wahyu, are you there? Dr. Wahyu, can you hear me?
Okay, while we waiting for Dr. Wahyu to present his presentation, maybe the host can show the, how to say, question. Is there anything? Professor Paulo, are you still online?
Yes. Hello.
Okay.
Yes, I'm still online.
I'm sorry. So while waiting for Dr. Wahyu, there's a question for you. So,
With pleasure, with pleasure.
okay. This is from Sri Rejeki. How do you develop idea in designing each of your design according to the quality and utilization of existing spaces so that it becomes an extraordinary design? For example, around your neighborhood. Please.
Okay, so the idea is obviously to focus on in design also in terms of psychophysical effect. Practically, what we are designing currently or applying is not related only on the survival of the crew, but also biological survival, but also the physical, psychophysical survival of the crew. And this is the reason and the basic of our living, of our habitation. If these principles, they could be by extension, be adapted, not as they are, but adapted in terms of, again, adaptation, that I like this term, adaptation from the most extreme to the ordinary extreme environment and vice versa. This is definitely could be beneficial in the both fields, which is actually is, because for example, currently in our researchers, we are not only developing technologies and advanced materials to be applied on Earth, but we are also searching for inspiration by natural system. Like, for example, the most recent researchers are focused on fungi, for example. Fungi, how they reproduce, and if we can use the grow rate of fungi also for production of artificial environment. So practically research that is started as a space application now practically is ready to be transferred from space to Earth and be a contribution of reduction of our impact on the environment. I don't know if I replied to the question. I hope so.
Professor Porokateli. So maybe Dr. Wahyu is already joined for the presentation. I will give this to Mr. Hendra Setiawan.
I would really appreciate, Dr. Puteri, if you can send me this slide with the question, and I would really would like to reply and to this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Karati. I will send you an email with the questions so you can answer all the questions, because the enthusiasm for your, presentation about the hazard space and then the design is quite really interesting, and it's new. Thank you so much, Professor Karati.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
will help you. Please don't, don't bother. Okay, I give this to Dr. Hendra.
Thank you, Mrs. Putri. Thank you, Prof. Paulo. Good afternoon, everyone. Now we move to the third keynote speaker for today's session. Firstly, I want to ask the host to stop share maybe. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, Professor Wahyu.
Good afternoon. Yeah, sorry for
Yeah.
for the
No,
miscommunication. Yeah.
We do apologize for the delay.
Yeah.
So before Professor Wahyu deliver his presentation, I want to explain a little bit about the CV of Professor Wahyu.
Yeah.
Okay. Our third keynote speaker is Professor Wahyu Kaisarendra, PhD. Now he is an assistant professor in manufacturing system engineering in University Brunei Darussalam. I will also tell you about his educational background. He graduated from Diponegoro University in 2005 and got his Magister of Engineering from Pukyong National University, South Korea in 2010, and graduate from PhD program in Mechanical Engineering from University of Wollongong, Australia in 2015. Here are his research interests, like vibration, acoustic emission, and biomedical signal processing, vibration condition monitoring, feature extraction, intelligent fault diagnosis and prognosis, and some more else of his research interest. We also can see here his so many citation and publication. Maybe there are so many more than we. I'm very envy of your activities. Maybe this is some of curriculum vitae of Professor Wahyu. To shorten the time, maybe we can go directly to the presentation of Professor Wahyu. Prof. Wahyu, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. Yeah, first of all, I would like to say thank you for the committee for inviting me in this conference. Yeah, I think in the beginning when the committee invited me, actually I'm from mechanical engineering that already informed in the CV, and the topic is quite a bit far from my area, but fortunately, currently I'm supervising one PhD student related to the building energy. So sorry, I think can you see my presentation slide? Can you see my presentation slide?
We can see your slide.
Okay, good. Yeah. So hopefully this kind of I said that I have one PhD student working on the vertical binary systems, and hopefully this can help this conference get some knowledge about what is a vertical binary system. Okay. I would like this today. My presentation title is about vertical greenery system with IoT. IoT is Internet of Things. We will see the comparison between green facade room and bare wall room. I'm a assistant professor in FIT, Faculty of Integrated Technologies. If someone would like to cooperation and do some collabs in the future, yeah, maybe you can have some. My area is about robotics, machine learning, and mechanical engineering. I have fixed about six. I forgot to mention here. I have six content for today's keynote speaker presentation, and I would like to inform, or I would like to share about what is the background of the research, why we choose this kind of research, and I will introduce about the building energy consumption, and next to the introduction to the vertical greenery system or VGS, sorry, yeah, VGS, and then I would like to introduce also what devices that we use to Internet of Things for this kind of application for a vertical binary system. And we will see actually the one that the most interesting of this research is we would like to see the comparison between the vertical binary system and the bare wall. Yeah, so basically we will see the comparison with why we do this research. And of course, the ultimate goal is we would like to reduce the electricity consumption, and we will see the comparison. Okay, so start with the background of study. The phenomenon of unstoppable force of urbanization makes the natural vegetation area are replaced by concrete building. I think all of you agree with this sentence, because if you are living in the capital cities or big cities, you can see that the development of the construction is very massive and very fast. Yeah, I think so. You can see also the urbanization. Also, people tend to or like to walk in the city rather than living in the maybe village. So this will affect to the increasing number of building and construction. And also as the population grows, the people tend to spend more time doing indoor activities. Again, I've been, before I really work in Brunei, I work in Singapore. I also see that the people in Singapore like to or tend to spend more time in the indoor. They like indoor. And maybe also in Jakarta, so you can see maybe the phenomena. And next is this will cause an increase in energy consumption of the building. This cause an increase of energy consumption in the building. Of course, if people tend to doing activities indoor, and then you can see that there will be electricity increase, because they need maybe light, they need home appliances devices or equipment to accompany them during the working or doing activities. And the final effect is this will contribute to one of the largest energy consumption used for cooling and heating the indoor spaces of the building. If we are living in the tropical countries, we need more energy for cooling, right? But maybe some people living in the European or Western countries, they also need, during the winter, they need the heating. So if people like to do activities indoor, so either they will need cooling or heating. Yeah. So this is the background of our study for my PhD study. And I would like to give you one of the maybe video that see the progression of the global surface temperature. Yeah, we can just run this video a little bit. You can see from here the years increasing, and also the color coded map in Robinson projection displays a progression of changing global surface temperature from 1880 until 2018. Yeah, you can see from here. So this is also something that we need to aware with. Yeah, we have to think about it in the future. And okay, before I present some of the result from my PhD student, I would like to also open your mind, the attendance in today's conference, that we know that China and India is also the large countries, and this will also use the energy consumption quite big. But if you can see from here, China, US, also the rest of world, India as well, and we would like to focus on this one, other non-OECD. OECD means just a moment. Let me think. Let me also. OECD means economic cooperation and development in Asia. Yeah, OECD. Sorry, organization. Is an organization of for economic cooperation and development. And in Asia, Indonesia is a member of non-OECD. You can see from here: Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, Hong Kong, and the rest. This is the country that a member of non-OECD. Yeah. And then you can see from here the BTU is relevant to the energy consumption. BTU means British thermal units. Indonesia in 2015 is the country that has highest BTU or highest energy consumption. Yeah, you can see from here, and then followed by Thailand.